Hi, my name is Alex. I'm from Mentoring Effect that already everyone knows probably. And I have with me Donovan Fulkerson, and he's from New Mexico. I actually exchanged that a little bit because I thought it's Mexico, but now I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really happy to talk to him because he has a really huge various background, I would say, because he's from speaking to film festivals, doing some background. I think your company is media company. I will just let you do that and I will probably give you some space to tell us something more about you.
Okay. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be anytime on someone's personal show and things that they do. And thank you for being a champion of other people. And I'm a big fan of doers. I'm a big fan of helping people succeed. And I believe that if people can master their internal thinking and the way that they approach life, there's very few things they can't do. So I appreciate what you bring to this podcasting space and the world of just encouragement to others. And so, yeah, there's a lot to me. People can study that up. I don't want to bore them with details that are unnecessary. But I grew up in New Mexico at the world famous Roswell, yes, UFO capital of the world. I left and went to college, got a minister's degree, and was actually involved in churches for a decade professionally. I then stepped out of there and was in professional business in uptown Dallas for just under about 12 to 15 years, and then moved back to Roswell to help some family business, and eventually opened my own companies. Those are Relicwood Media, which we do film production from the basics to things like podcasts like this or commercials for businesses all the way up to feature film. And then I started the Roswell Film Festival. And
how old have you been when you started?
That's a neat part of this story. And it's an encouraging thing to other people that are later in life getting stuff done. I helped build other people's dreams for most of my life, and now I'm doing mine. I actually opened my media company in 2011, but I didn't go full time until 2018.
Wow.
So it was a side hustle. It was helping
That's
still
really
build
long.
their
That's
dreams.
great.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And so for the last 2.5 years, we've been up running our own things. The film festival, it's what I call a boutique festival. We're nothing of consequence, but because of the Roswell brand, it garners me some attention and some things.
Yeah.
So we're just in its infancy. We opened it in 2016. We've been blessed to have fabulous filmmakers that have been a part, and that's always an honor to take people's art and be able to show it off. But yeah, so that's the basics of it. I also own a pipe and drape company, but with all the things that are going on in the world, all events are canceled. So that business right now is just literally stagnant until we resume in the world.
Yeah, actually, I'm in the same position because I had two different projects. And one of my company was actually event management company, and we did a lot of community events, and now that is basically they're all cancelled. But it looks like we are going a little bit back. I'm not sure how is the situation there, but we have, I think, events up to 100 people from as from today or tomorrow. I think we are allowed to do that. I'm not sure how it is in. You still.
It's different at every state. Ours is one of the last to really be getting momentum, and we're feeling it. It's tough. I don't want to speak positively or negatively on that because it's different for different people. But for like that company of mine, it's really tough because there's nothing I can do. We literally are just stuck at the mercy of it, and right or wrong, it hurts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always said it's always something to do, but exactly when you are, depending on events, they were outdoors and they were actually with people. It's kind of, it changes all structure of the company when you actually own other businesses. Probably doesn't really make sense, I guess, because you have a lot of work probably with a film and media company.
I've been blessed because digital still stays going even when doors are closed. So I've been blessed with that.
Yeah, I guess that's really good and positive for a lot of people. And I saw a lot of digital marketing companies and they're just so busy. And my website lady, she was like, I can't do it. I can't finish because I have so many projects coming. And I think that's great because always, someone grows, someone someone that can't, you know, because it's just not
Right.
probably possible for some people, and some people lost the jobs, but some people gain more. I mean, it's always good and bad, you know, like it depends how you take it, probably for yourself.
Right, and there's so many people pivoting at this moment, and we had already started that pivot before this hit,
Yeah.
because of a personal book that I had written, and I had a mentor telling me, "Why are you not presenting an online course around that? People really need to be able to engage with that content on a deeper level and with you." And then all of this hit, and then it was like, "Oh my goodness, now I have even bonus time. We need to get this thing done and get it out there." So. Um,
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's been easier for me than most because we have all the equipment, we have all the stuff.
Yeah.
It's already natural to us. But I encourage a lot of people to be doing things like that. You know, don't just sit still, but, you know, figure out what you can still bring to the market that can help others.
Yeah. It's so great thinking. I absolutely agree. Like I was able to stay stuck basically 3 months ago or 3.5. And that was same thing, you know, like, oh, I don't have major income that was coming from my event company. And I was like, I
Wow.
just need to do something. And I never did video online. So I never did all that things. And now you
Wow.
can see like it's almost 100 videos on my YouTube channel. And I did it only in that
Right.
three
Yeah.
months. And I was like, you know what, I just need to do it. And that's the thing, people can do it. And I'm so
Yes.
happy you brought that, because that's something we can probably help people to understand. Even in 2 months or 3 months hard work, you can change all your business, you can change
Yes.
everything. And I would like to go a little bit into your book, because you mentioned that, and I think
Okay.
you said it's something about thinking, about mind. I really want to go there a little bit. What is the book about, or what is the major focus of the book?
Well, the book, it's titled Sin's Cure. The years that I spent on church staffs and things, I began to see that we would present people a quick connection to a spiritual solution, but then what do you go and what do you do from there? And I felt like a majority of the time, whatever your religious beliefs are, wherever you're at, what we do is we deal with what we call sin, whatever that definition is for every person, you know, things that hurt ourselves and hurt others. But in my opinion, and as I've done my study, that is just a symptom or an effect of a deeper problem. And so we go through that. The truth of it, isn't hidden, but I lay out a very simple to follow procedure on how to guard yourself, protect yourself, and then how to recover when you goof up. And because we all do.
Yeah.
You know, how many times in our life have we found ourselves doing some sort of an action that causes shame and guilt and destruction, and then we lash out at the people around us and we hurt the people that we're interacting with, or we blow the
That's
business
so
deal,
true.
or our husband and wife, we snap at them in a way and we're like, why are we even acting like this? And it's because we're carrying this weight of just
Yeah.
nastiness. And in my opinion and in my study, it's the selfish nature. And whenever it's about me and not about outward, that's when it leads real quickly to giving in to things that are just inappropriate, whatever that level is, you know.
Yeah.
For me, for years, I struggled so desperately to have people's approval on my life and who I was, validation, which then eventually
That's
led
big.
to,
That's big.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's a lot of people. And not every man deals with what I eventually led into, which was just a really bad porn habit. And it created a relationship issues between me and my wife, with other people, everything. And it wasn't something that I was proud of, but it was habits and it was things, and I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, for the next person, it might be anger. They just easily get angry all the time whenever they can't cope with things. Or the next person, it might be alcohol or drugs, or too much of gaming, or too much whatever that guilty pleasure might be.
Yeah.
And I believe, because I believe anything to excess creates a sinful activity. So if we push things too far, we've now created an imbalance in our relationships, and in turn, we all find it, we all hate it, but we lash at people and we treat them improperly and so forth. So we
Yeah.
go through the whole process of that, and the mentoring and the
Yeah.
developing. And I can't fix things for people, but I can give them tools.
Yeah.
so that the
That's,
next time that they go through this, I call it the tension mountain. We all go in our days and tension rises inside of us, and it rises and rises and rises. And when we get to the top of that tension mountain, one of two things are going to happen. We either give in to that old negative behavior, and then we have shame and guilt and all this because
yeah.
we get the release, we get the tension release because of whatever that action is. Or if we have the right tools, we know how to prepare ourselves for that and create a proper, healthy release that avoids the shame and guilt and all that cycle. And then
Yeah.
now we're actually able to love the people around us. But it starts with loving yourself properly.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's such a huge topic, and it's so important. And I always, I don't know, it's for me a little bit sensitive, because when you talk about that, it's amazing how, because I basically experienced the same thing. When you
okay.
talk about that, being nasty, I became really bad because I was going through IVF journey for 3 years, and hormones and all that. It's like a bad attitude. Something is supporting your bad attitude and
Right.
behavior. And it's after 3 years, it became habit. It was strong. And it's so important to reflect. And I didn't do it first few years. Like I just didn't reflect. I was like, that's, hormones and all that things. And I feel sorry for myself. I can't have kids. It was all really like a bubble. And when I started to self-reflect, and I saw my partner getting down, and he was actually sad, and he wasn't happy at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it until I actually realized that he's my mirror. And when I'm happy, he will be happy probably. And I just started to understand and believe what he was always telling me. Like, I just can't be happy because you're not happy. And I was like, no, bullshit. And I always say that, but it's not. And I started to realize when I will help him through, I don't know, nutrition, he lost a lot of weight and he started to be happy. We started exercise. And even if he doesn't want, I'm just like trying to stand up and go. And, it's kind of like you try to inspire a person next to you, and he changed in 3 months. And that all happened last 3-4 months. And probably also my decision helped, because I made decision, I'm done with the journey, and I just focus on something else. And that was big reflection for me. That means that definitely huge tool is just really reflect on what you do, because that's so much pain when you see how you're hurting people, how you talk to them, and basically everything what is exactly like you said. It's fear, it's anger, frustration, everything what you have inside, you're basically putting on other people.
We do that. And it's out of a self-preservation thing that we have, but we forget that really we're not that different from each other.
Yeah.
And all of us are struggling with stuff. Yeah. And so if we will release that properly and actually care, again, I come from a Christian, Judeo-Christian background. So I use that throughout my book very strongly. And I'm very clear about that. And I don't tell people how to believe and all that kind of stuff. But my point is Jesus said, if you want to obey all the law, to sum it up, is you love God with all your heart and love others like you love yourself. None of that is about you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's huge. Yeah.
And so that's really the whole point, is once we really grasp that properly, when we really have the best interest of others, we're going to fix the things inside ourselves. Yeah. We're going to make sure, because we want them to win. If I say to you today, man, I really want you to win, but my actions are different, that doesn't add up. Yeah, exactly. But if I genuinely want you to win, then I'm going to adjust whatever I need to adjust so that I can be an asset in your life. Yeah. And part of that is being open. It's okay to say, I totally messed this up. I really did, but I want to do better, and I'm working on it, and I'm going to, having that proper communication.
Yeah, I guess exactly. That's the same thing. Be okay with failure, or be okay that, exactly like you said, messed up. Everybody messed up. Everybody, make mistakes. We just human, and it's always the same thing for everyone. But I want to go a little bit. I guess when you came to this wisdom, I know there was something before, because we usually are getting probably smarter or maybe stronger, or we have different opinions, and we reflect more when we are going through really big downs. And I guess there was something in your life. I probably want to go there, like when you started to write this book, if you're fine to talk about it, because I guess there was some big down, or something happened. that actually make you realize that maybe the world needs something that you actually writing about and talking about? Is that something that was like the decision maker, or?
There would be several, actually. I'm a very strong doer, so I'm always giving
Yeah,
my all to things, which left myself very susceptible to my demons, if you will, if we want to
yeah,
classify it that way. My own personal demons, because I wasn't strong anymore, because when you give all your energy to something, then you're weak and you can give in to selfish activities real quick.
yeah.
And so I found it being a pattern that had built in there, and it was my coping mechanism.
Okay.
You know, when you're exhausted, when you're tired, when you would cope with whatever those negative behaviors are
Yeah.
to get a release. It's as you know, as you were mentioning, you get kind of this, it's just so raging and you need that
It's
release
exactly.
somehow.
It's the
You know,
range.
we do in order to cope.
I know.
And it began about 3 or 4 or 5 years. My journey began into my marriage. I had had just a terrible firing at a job, and I didn't know why I was fired. I felt like I was justified, but it was just brutal. I had to move my family out of state, all this kind of stuff. And I had a good pastor friend of mine sit me down in a chair and said, "Donovan, you're being a complete idiot." And he yelled at me for a while, and I couldn't see it. I didn't realize it. And I began to really start to dig deeping at that point and go, okay, well then something's very wrong here, because if it's that clear to others, but not to me, I've got an issue. And I have good intentions. That's never been an
Yeah,
issue for me. But as you know, good intentions don't equal good actions.
exactly. I absolutely agree. Yeah,
And
intention
so,
is not enough. Yeah.
yeah, you know, good habits create good
Yeah.
actions because your intention can be off, but if you can rely on your habits, you'll
Well
still get
said.
the job done, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because there's days that we all have bad days and our intentions are just not good. And so we need to rely on those good habits to keep us going where we need to go. And so, yeah, that began the journey. And before my dad passed in 2009. And so for about 10 years prior to that, he and I had just really studied and really dug deep. I worked with other mentors, other people that wiser than me, and being able to draw from their strengths and their study and their things. And in 2011, I finally just got around to saying, okay, all of this information, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to put it at a junior high level so that anybody can read it. It's less than 100 pages on purpose. It's
Yeah.
broken into 12 sections. So that way, because most courses are 3 months long. So you could do one a week, each
Yeah.
section, no matter who wanted to teach it, wanted to run it. There's actually a program through a church in Arizona that's used it for years. And they're part of the testimonial advertising that we're about to put out for the online course. But the point was I wanted it to be something that no matter where you were at, you could pick this up and run with it.
Yeah. That's great.
It's not a quick fix. You have to do things. You have
Yeah.
to embrace your journey, and you have to do something about it. It's
Yeah.
not like there's a magic pill.
I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of people actually promising. They're promising usually in advertisement this quick fix, and I said
Right.
it's never like that. Like even to make $1 million probably in 2 weeks, it's just not possible when somebody's promising that in advertisement. Depends what you're selling as well, but
Now, if
I
you've been
always
building for 10 years, you might make 2 million in 2 weeks or
yeah,
whatever.
and
But
that's
it
the
took all that build for
yeah.
that to happen in that critical moment. Yeah.
It's so much, yeah, and it's so much work, but especially when you want to create something big business. It's a lot of work, and it's a
Yes.
lot of hours, and we can't cheat the time. The time is what it is, and we just
Right.
don't have more than other person. And I guess what you say, I really love the conversation about like to having some tools and be able to fix probably our beliefs and habits. And I agree, we need to put everything into action. But
Yes.
I have one more question about this kind of probably time in your life, because I met a lot of people actually from USA. From the USA is probably most of them. They're all pastors and mentors. Like it's mentor
Wow.
and pastor is very close. And I
Yeah.
never met anyone like that. Basically, only last 3-4 months when I'm actually doing these
Wow.
interviews. And for me, that's huge and it's so different. And I would like to probably know, how did you become pastor and how the journey started, or if it's something
Okay.
that was going from family, and and how you become
Okay.
mentor.
Well, at age 12, I had really felt like it was something I wanted to do. I wanted to help people. I wanted to, especially with teens. And by the time I was 16, I was already an intern at the church I was at, growing up at, and actually got a write-up in a national magazine about being one of the first interns at that age to actually be on church staff within the organization. And so my dad, I come from business owner families, entrepreneurs, things like that, and hard workers. My great-great-granddad was a rancher. So when we set our minds to something, we just go do it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that wasn't necessarily the norm or whatever. I just said, I saw that. I liked it. I want to go do it. My dad had taught us how to have our own businesses and our own thinking from the time we were little. So I just poured my life into it, entered competitions, speaking competitions, all kinds of stuff like that. A lot of mentoring on how to talk early on. And so then I went to university to get a full degree in it. I'm still ordained today. I maintain that. I don't talk a lot about that to a lot of places because people start acting funny around you. I'm no different than,
I can't see them now.
yeah. I'm no different than the next person. I struggle just like everyone else. I just decided that I wanted to have a platform to try to help others, find their way, and not just in some metaphysical way. I mean, in a very genuine, find your way so that you can succeed. I quote Nacho Libre all the time. I want to win. But that's all of us. We want to win, and if I can help people through that. So I ended up going on church staffs. Churches as small as about 7 or 80, all the way up to several thousand, and working with teens. And then because I've got a music background, I even was a music minister, and then I've done everything but senior pastor. That wasn't really what I was looking to do. But my main focus was helping teens and all that. So I spent a lot of time. I love teenagers because you can just have open conversation. They're not so tainted with the rest of like the rest of us that get older, where we've got to act a certain way, and no, they just, hey, this is what it is. I did this today. What should I do? And it's so freeing to have that type of a free conversation. And I'm learning as I get older, we need to have those.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's great. Yeah. That's great way to see that, because it's just so different. It's really different world probably for me, because I think I was in church once when I was young with my grandmom, but we don't have that background, and there was not that many activities that church actually was doing. Like I just can't remember, because that's so funny, because I can see like you wanted to help already from your really early age. And I think that's amazing. That means naturally you have that, and you were seeking that. And I was always just thinking about that, but I didn't know what to do and how to do it, because I didn't see that. I didn't know any person to doing that. And I was always thinking, I'm really weird. And it was,
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Not think you are weird. I mean, I think we all think ourselves are weird.
Yeah, but it was like you're searching, or you're trying to find something that is kind of not normal. Like, everybody was trying to help themselves. And especially there was the change of the system and everything in Czechoslovakia. After that, it became Slovakia. It was a different country and different. There was community before. And I guess everybody wanted everything for themselves. I guess there was maybe some kind of like a different, I don't know, different society, as I said. There was different behavior. Sure. And it just never been really focused on community that much. And I actually, when I moved to Australia, I think that was, 5 years ago now. And that was, for me, that was shocking. Like, it's so community based. It's just so many groups, and the groups helping to each other, or helping kids, or helping. It's all about helping community. And that's different world. Like, you can't find that in Europe that much.
Really?
Yeah, it's so different. I didn't find out why is that yet, but I'm still thinking like, what is the thinking behind, or why is that, like the people doing these things so differently?
I don't know if you follow or listen to Ed Milet, but I love one of his statements where it was about 2 years ago. I heard this and I've really started to embrace it myself. But he said, you'll go play any sports activity, you'll go do all these things in life where you need a myriad of coaches in order for you to succeed. He says, but for some reason you'll go through life alone without coaches.
Yeah. That's really
And
true.
that really spoke to me, because I had been a coach to a lot of people, but I had stopped getting coaching in my life. And so that's been remedied. I've got people speaking into my life, mentors. I love your brand right there, you know, the mentoring effect. It is so critical that we have coaches, and ones that are really good in certain areas, and the next one might not be, but he's really
Yeah.
good at, or she's really good in that side, and they're able to speak to you and give you that, just like you said, community, the right community. I
Yeah.
believe it's important to have the right community.
Yeah, exactly.
There's right mentors that are speaking crap to you. You need to turn those
I
off.
know a few of them. Yeah.
But we need good coaches. We need
Yeah.
people that are able to see those things that are good in us
Yeah.
and reinforce it, and then see those things that aren't so good and help us master those.
It's so true. Because when I'm thinking, basically, my mentor was probably my dad, but also
Wow.
because I learned a lot from him, and I always wanted to be like same as him. He was really, great. He tried business. I was really like, I don't want to go there, but there was different time, really different time. There was not normal to have business, and it was not normal to just travel. And even if we actually live on the border with Austria, it wasn't
Okay.
kind of normal to go there and work. It was just prohibited. It was really hard to get like that approvals and all that stuff. And it's so different to see him, to going to Austria and actually work for himself or try to get a job there and just really change maybe economic status of the family. And it was so
Yeah.
different. Like he was always someone that I would say taking example from, but he was pushing me to go to study economy. And it was my first argument when I realized that I probably need someone to talk to. And it's not my dad, because I wanted to study psychology so badly. But I
Okay.
ended up to study economy because my dad said, finance, there is the wealth. You need to go to study economy because that's all about money. You need to learn that. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
it's important.
Yeah. But look, it helped me definitely. It's just, I'm missing psychology, and now I'm actually studying 5 years already, and I'm studying actually behavior coaching and all that
Okay.
stuff. And it's so different, and I love it. And that's the difference. When I would do it probably that time,
Yeah.
or when I would have mentor or coach or someone that I can really talk to about the career, about, what are my, I would say that's always good to have desires and go deeper into your probably purpose and think about your priorities, your personal priorities, or how you feel. And I think that's
Yeah.
very important. And I didn't have that person. And I guess that will be
Okay.
great to have someone who will direct you a little bit, or guide you through the process when you are young, 18, 19 years old. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's important. But I love what you do because I think it's so different. For me, it's like I just want to know more. And I would like to know how you kind of came, because pastor, mentor, writing book, and now it's film festival, media, doing some films or something. Like, tell me
Yeah.
about that. Just
Well, the film side, I'm a nerd, a genuine nerd. I grew up programming on Apple IICs for all the old people in the audience. Back in second and third grade, I'd already started creating video games on computers
oh
when that
wow.
wasn't popular. That was a joke. Oh, you're the vice president of the computer club. We all watch Napoleon Dynamite. I identify with that movie a lot. I think I like to think that I look and act and dress a lot better today, but I was pretty nerdy back then. So I grew up a video gamer, programmer, all that, and I
Yeah,
started
great
watching
thing to have.
films.
Yeah,
Do what?
I think that's great thing to have, especially now. Like that's great. You were nerd.
It's paying off today,
It's
but I had
cool.
a lot of ridicule in my growing up years. Yeah, I started going to movies, and I can remember sitting in movies from Star Wars to E.T. to
I love that
The
all.
Last Starfighter, The
Yeah.
Princess Bride. Those were all part of my growing up years. And I just said, I want to tell stories. I want to do that. And so even in junior high at 12 and 13, I tell the story all the time. I've got a video camera on my shoulder that attached to a VCR on my hip that was my dad's. And I would employ I don't even remember the stories, but they were sci-fi of some sort. I've always loved
Yeah.
science fiction. But I would employ my junior high friends and take them down to a gym, and we'd turn off the lights and build sets and shoot movies. I didn't know that that wasn't normal. I just, yeah, I want to do that. And so I made it. Who knows what I put them through. Um, but it was something that has always been a passion. So I've dabbled with it my whole life, and all my years of doing church work and some of the other businesses, there just wasn't time to do much.
Yeah.
And over the last 10 years, I've been able to really sink my teeth into it and make it a business. And it's just, there's something very freeing about being able to tell a story and take people on a journey. And when done right, it's a special experience to sit in that audience and watch everybody and see that you really spoke to them on some level, whether it be entertainment or heartfelt or whatever it is that the mission of the story was. Yeah. I tell people all the time, what we do is magic. So don't forget that. This is fun. It's going to be hard work. We're going to work really hard on these sets, but the magic is there once we get to the finish line and people see it and it does something for them. So yeah, that was something that I chased as a passion, and now I have the privilege of actually doing it for income too. So extra bonus.
Yeah, that's extra bonus. And I always said, because actually my question was, I was going to ask you about your like biggest passion when you were a child, but I guess you already answered that.
Okay.
Yeah, like, because it's very important. What I'm trying to do with my clients as well is it's really great exercise, and that's the passion basically. When you think about something that you really love to do when you were a child, and it's something that you just spend hours, but you didn't even realize there were hours, you know, in your time. It was a few minutes, but you were just so stuck with that because you love to do that. Is that something like that in your childhood that you stopped to do?
Always, yes. I would always rope in my friends. I had a very large Star Wars and Transformers. In fact, you can't see it here, but I've got a Transformer sitting up, 2 of them on my shelf here. I've got a lot of collectibles. But I had a bunch of those as a child. And so I would rope them in, the neighborhood kids, and we'd either go bike riding and playing just like any other kid in those days. It's a shame that that's gone today. But we'd get in the dirt and we'd build these cities, and we'd have this whole story of how these characters were living, and we'd act it out and all. Cool. And I even wrote short stories and things like that. I remember entering those. I was very much into art. So I entered into a lot of art contests and things like that as well. And, you know, to my parents' credit, there's things that we've talked about over the years that weren't as amazing and wonderful that we're trying to improve with ourselves and our kids. But to their credit for the things that they did amazing, a lot of that was you can. That concept. Oh, you want to do that? Let's go. Let's figure it out. It may not be what you do the rest of your life, but at least for this week, let's put some energy into that and see where it goes.
That's that's great attitude. That's definitely something that is helping so much to
and I believe
healthy person.
Yeah, I believe a lot of people are held up just by those 2 words. They don't know that they can.
Yeah, exactly.
You can.
So true. But it's so funny that you actually, your passion was already something that you actually do now. Like you were creating stories, and you were creating basically kind of like movies, you know, and some kind of art and story and picture or vision, you know, like you already did it before. That means that's great. Like you.
Yeah, I love make-believe. I'm a big fan of the Disneyland, Disney World experience and all that kind of stuff, because you get to escape reality for a while.
I'm so happy you're saying that, because my partner is looking at me really, really funny way, because I have these Sundays and I'm like, it's Sunday morning. I have to have my fairy tale. And he's like, nice. What? And I said, I love it. I just need to have it. Because when I was a child, we had these Sundays, you know, Sunday morning, early morning, parents were still in bed. We always ran to the TV and we watched fairy tales or cartoons. You know, it was something that was not real. And I love that. And I didn't have it for a few years, but I came back to that. I'm doing that again. And I love it. That's just, it's best weekend when I can, you know, escape, I guess, somewhere.
I believe it's so important that we dream.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to Brendan Burchard. I think everybody's really loved drawing it. Just inspiration from the man. He's been an amazing communicator the last decade. And he talked about, you know, what are the 3 words that define you, you know, and for me, you know, immediately it's going to be dream, then it's going to be love, and then it's going to be believe. You know, we have to keep dreaming. Otherwise, what are we really doing other than just existing?
Yeah.
You know, and so like you, I love the fairy tales. I love the stories. I love, you know, let's dream. And I think it also helps us as business owners and things to remember that it's okay to dream beyond the menial tasks.
Yeah.
You know, what could be? What could it look like? If I
Yeah.
just adjusted here, where could we go?
Yeah. This is exactly what I'm trying to actually teach as well. It's kind of like create your marketing message the way that you actually ask people first thing like, I wonder what would happen, or imagine this can be great.
Yeah,
Imagine you have that and that, you know, or you can go somewhere. It's kind of like put the word imagine into someone's brain. It's taking them somewhere else on different journey. And I think that's important. It's sometimes really challenging for me to find the words in English still, you know, like I'm
okay.
trying to
Yeah,
really
yeah.
think, but I think also imagine is that the word is resonating with everyone. And I guess people should probably think a little bit more about that, like to, you know, put out advertisement about crisis that is happening. And, you know you all suffer. It's kind of like change the message, you know, and
Right.
bring some, I don't know, fantasy to the world and to our brains, and take us on different journey a little bit, you
I
know.
think it's just like when you're planting a field, whatever seed you plant is the tree that's going to grow. And
Yeah.
so if you're planting seeds of life and excitement and energy and you can, and yes, we will, we're going to win. And you have you shouldn't be surprised later when you do.
And this is so great and so important with kids as well. I don't know, do you have kids?
I do.
Yeah, you probably know because you probably raised them correct way, I would say, you know, and making them realize what they can do in their life, you know.
I sure hope I've done well. I know I've done my share of mistakes, but I hope I've done enough to give them
Yeah.
what they need so that they can win. Yes.
I think the attitude that you already know and you're aware of the mistakes or what, you know, like I'm taking always an example, like when you have kids, you know, running, because I know they basically, you put programming into their head between age of actually first month and 3 years. So like that age is really important because we can't remember that, but there was all the things that happened to us. And we put
Yeah.
beliefs and belief system into our brains by parents, friends, family, and maybe some teachers or anyone basically, and we don't even remember that people, and that's the
Right.
that's the crazy thing. And I always say, like, just imagine the kid, you know, when kid is running, because there was, I think that someone did it, and there was kid running around, you know, like kids are running naked, you know, and
Right.
playing,
Right.
and the parent
Uh-huh.
was like, go dress up, blah, 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 start screaming at a kid. I was like, you just told the kid that she should be actually embarrassed to go in bikinis, you know, on a beach, or she shouldn't be
Right.
actually ever naked. She should be probably ashamed of her body. And I said,
Right.
that's so important to understand. Like we can probably talk different way to the kids.
Agreed.
And
Yes.
yeah, it's just big thing. And when I realized, I said, oh, it's really hard because that's so much work in the world to help people to get rid of that kind of beliefs.
I've actually set my kids down and apologized to them for certain things like that over the years. And
Wow,
even recently
that's
again,
big.
and said, I didn't know any better at the time. And I gave you some things that are programmed into you that's not good. And I'm sorry, because
I love that.
that's not fair. You were trusting
So honest.
me. But, how else can they get free from that?
Yeah.
They get validation to get free from that from me. I deposited it. I should give them validation that, hey, that is bad and it's wrong. And
Yeah.
if you let me, I'll help you fix it.
Okay. But
you
it's
know,
great now they are aware that there was some programming that you put into their heads. And they're like, yeah, okay, I need to work
right,
on that. This is probably from that. This is
right,
what he's
right. Yeah.
talking about. It's good, you know, like they are aware that something can come up. And I think that's another great step you did, I guess, you know, to raising them. It's
I think again that most of us are not that desperately complicated. If
yeah.
we're treated properly and actually communicated to well, most of us are very gracious. I think people are naturally good people, but we have a nature that tends to go to evil to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And so when we are allowed a free space, we actually gravitate to really good stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
but we have to encourage it. It comes
It
from, like we said before, that community of mentors and
yes.
coaches and people to keep us in our right headspace.
Yeah, but it's so true because when you spoke about your book and your program and all that stuff, it's I think very important especially when you're talking about like, we need to be in the right space, but yeah, we need to reflect, we need to understand that we are not in the right space and we are actually hurting people.
Yeah.
And I guess that beginning is great, because that was when I said my story as well about that, like how I changed. I met a lot of depressed people, honestly, like that during that time, you know, that 3 years when I was going through IVF journey. Even some friends I met, they're not my friends anymore. And it was, you know, 3 years, it's not huge time. And I was really seeking for friends, because I was here only 1 year and I was like, I don't know anyone. I really need friends. I really need someone, you know, I need some business people around. I tried to create my own community, but I pretty much created really bad base of the community for the first few years, because I was actually in bad state. It's but it's exactly what you said. We are attracting actually what we are. And that's exactly when I changed. I'm speaking with different people last 6 months. And that is amazing. Actually, there are people, they lift me up and I can lift them up, you know, like we can really help each other. And we are helping each other. We have same mission, we're connecting more. And finally, I'm attracting that people that I was thinking before. I was like, oh, this will be great friends, but it's not for me now. You know, it was just the energy different or vibration difference. It was so huge that I just couldn't probably attract them, because I didn't feel safe or good about myself. It's so big. And it's very different, very important. What
you have to guard, to echo what you just said. I believe we have to guard the voices in our life. I don't care where they're coming from. It could be something that you've been around for 20 years, but if it's taking you the wrong direction, you gotta get it out, because we are many times, you know, we gravitate to whatever our headspace is, and if we don't get our headspace right, we wake up going, well, how did I get all the way over here? And exactly. That's a scary feeling.
It is. Honestly,
it really is.
I didn't know myself. I can be actually really honest. When I saw pictures, I didn't take 3 years. I didn't want to take a picture of myself, because when I saw a picture of me, that wasn't me.
I understand.
It was that huge that I didn't understand. And I actually knew that I'm guarded by someone, you know, some inner voice that is telling me lies or is doing things, and I'm following that. And I was a bad person. I don't think I was a good person.
Sure.
Like, of course, probably I was lucky that I didn't have a lot of people around me, you know, to hurt. It was my partner, but poor guy. But the thing is that how hard it is. Like when you work with people, probably you know how hard is that, like to get rid of that inner voice or whatever is guiding you through that bad times. It's, even if it's scary, you know it's there. You know that's not you. But it's still so hard to go away. Like you need to really put, you know, some.
I'm going to give another resource that your audience, for people that resonate with what we're talking on, can use. Dr. Caroline Leaf, spelled just like the word. You may be familiar with her, but amazing neuroscientist that also comes from a spiritual background. But she teaches the process of how we rebuild habits, actually medically, how the electrodes, all that stuff work. And it is literally a reprogramming. And when we have to reinforce it. That's why I always reference habits. We have tools that allow us to keep those habits going, even when we don't want to, when our attitude is way off. And for those of us that are high achievers, our attitudes get off a lot.
It is so important.
We expend our energy, and then we're like, we don't want to mess with anything else. Don't look at me. Don't touch me. Don't be around me. and that's a dangerous place. Because then we're vulnerable.
It is. I guess that's great thing that you mentioned, that neuroscience and actually working through habits, because that's, I was listening to something yesterday, but what I do, because I'm doing my, like, for example, I have my rituals in the morning, because I know if I don't do that, I can go easily back, you know, to probably not great space. And those actually rituals or habits help me to feel actually energized and connect with myself, or maybe just find that positive energy that was what was me, or who was me before. And it's so funny how important is that, because this morning I woke up, I was like, no, because I was exercising yesterday and I was so tired and my muscles sore, and I was like, it's so easy to not to do my yoga like 20 minutes. It's so easy to just stop. But when you have that like you said, high achievers, you know, when you have your habits, you need to be very strict and committed
Yeah,
with what you do. And you know, it's good for you. That means
it
it's kind
is.
of like overcome that moment when it's some inner voice saying like, don't do it, stay in bed. It's like, no, I'm actually going to do it. And it's like, laughing on that inner voice, like, no. It's like,
Well, I'll be
you're not
real
going to
honest
stop
and
me.
transparent for you. About 4.5 years ago, I was about 30, 35 pounds overweight.
Wow.
And I justified it. I'd found every way to accept it and that it was okay. And life was hard. And you know, all the stupid stuff we go
Yeah, I
through.
know that. Yeah. I know
We've
that.
got stuff in the way that we don't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
And I had a set photo from a film that we were on. The guy that had taken it was so proud because he had me and the director of photography together. And it was a gorgeous photo, but all I could see was this fat man. And it was me. And I came home and talked with my kids and my wife, and they all said, "Yeah, yeah, you've got a problem. We would like for you to fix it." and
That's
and I
great for
started on
them.
that. Yeah, exactly. It was a real confidence booster. But as I went through that process and really started realizing, wait a minute, this is an area of my life that was out of control, and I was justifying it. That's a scary thing at the first offset to go, wait a minute, that you're that vulnerable to have habits and things that are improper. And even though I mentor people and talk to them, I've still got my own issues that I'm working through and
Yeah.
trying to find, it's not that I've arrived, it's that I've got tools that can help in the process. And so I started using some of that, and I got connected with a proper coach in fitness and everything. And now today it's a normal part of my routine, just like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, but I learned so much through that process. There's a phrase that you use when you're training: you train through failure, not to failure. Because if
Yeah.
you stop at the failure point, you don't get any growth. You got to go past the failure point in order to get growth and success. And so now I use that a lot in talking with people is, hey, you're going to fail and you need to look forward to it. You don't need to do it on purpose.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because
You need to
failure on
try
the same,
hard. Yeah.
yeah, failure on the same thing is not good. That means you're not learning and growing. But failure shows you a place that you can grow.
Yeah, I
And so you
agree.
got to
And
go through it.
yeah, and especially in training is so hard. Like I understand because my partner is he was a professional athlete. That means he knows how to overcome that point. Then you are
Right.
tired, you don't want to do it, and you're going through the pain and tears
Yeah.
and he's
Right.
doing that now when we train together because we have like a small garage gym. We just set it up
Nice.
because gyms are closed. And when I'm seeing him, I was like, "Where are you running? Just calm down, go slower." And he's like, "Shut up." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like," because it's so hard because you can see that he's driven and he's doing that and he really
Right.
can go through the pain. And I'm doing these push-ups, you know, and I'm crying because I can't even lift myself. But he's looking at me, he's like, "This is the point. You need to
Right.
come to that point when you can't lift yourself up." And I was like,
Right.
"Okay." And he's like, "And now stop for a second and go again." And I was
And
like,
not see
"Oh,
it as a bad thing. See it as a good thing.
yeah,
The guy that I mentored, he doesn't know me, but it's through a digital course on physical fitness. He says, when the pain begins, that's when the workout starts.
yes."
You haven't worked out yet.
Yeah,
Now you're working out. And that one mental shift, that's one little tool that shifted my mind into a place to go, wait a minute. I've always feared that.
yeah,
Now he's teaching me, no, you need to embrace that because that's where you'll get the win. And, and that's the same thing I do through our stuff. And I'm hearing you say it too. It's so very important that we embrace that. Struggle doesn't mean that there's bad stuff. It means that there's a victory on the other side that's worth
yeah.
obtaining if you will just push through.
Exactly. It's so true, even in business, because I had moments because I had business before in Europe and in Thailand, and now I started from zero again, basically in
Yeah.
Australia, and it's just so hard because you always have new and new challenges. They're coming. They will always
Right.
come, and there is so many different things. I didn't have any idea about this, community attitude or all that culture, how that actually works here, and it was so hard. And I
Wow.
almost, a few times I almost gave up and I was like, what, this is
Yeah.
too hard. I will just find a job. But after
Right.
like, I will find a job and what will happen after? I said, I will
Yeah.
probably be able to work there 1 year. And I will be like, no, that's not me. Because I
Yeah.
have my time. my working times, and I want to tell myself when I will work and how I will work. And I was
Right.
just always going there. It's like, no. Then that pushed me through, because I was like, no, I actually don't want to have job. I really
Yeah.
want to make this happen. And I had really hard time basically now as well. Like the company stopped to work, the event management. And it's so funny how you still have the option. It's like, okay, now I should go to work. It's like,
Right.
no, I can make this work. And it's just really pushed through. And you realize you find that energy and that, the strength you have actually. And it's more
Yes.
motivational, I would say, or it's inspiring when you're doing that through the failure or through the setbacks, I would call that probably.
Yeah,
But
it's such a cool feeling. Again, I go back to that when you win, because
yeah,
I think that's what that is. It's like winning on a baseball team or a football team or whatever. It's the same way in life, in your personal or your business. When you push through that, you've conquered something.
yeah,
And
exactly.
and it's important. Manny Koshman, he says it like this. He says, whenever I don't have a struggle, I get scared.
Yeah,
Because
it's so
something's not right. Something's not happening. We're not moving where we should be, because there's
yeah,
always a struggle to conquer. There's always
yeah,
another piece that we need to push through. And he goes, and I've learned to love the struggle. And I took that. I always give him credit when I state it. But I love that. I love
yeah,
that statement because, yeah, life's hard. Welcome to the party.
yeah. But it's what you choose. You can call your life that is hard, or you can call it it's just journey. It's
Yeah,
journey, and you have
yeah,
ups and downs, and you can enjoy it, and you can gain from even failure a lot. I guess we
yes,
always learn from failure, and I guess it's good to have challenges when you do something, because I feel alive. I don't know about you, but I
yeah,
feel so alive when actually there is
right,
challenge, because that would be so
yeah,
boring when you don't have challenges.
uh-huh.
But I'm not going to take more of your time, because this conversation is great. I will probably continue another hour, but I would like to ask you probably at the end, what is your next step? Probably what is ahead? What is Donovan in 10 years? What are the plans?
Okay. A little glimpse behind the curtain, if you will.
Yeah.
um, I'm building my speaking and teaching and things like that finally in my life. I did it semi-professionally in churches and then was away from it for 15 years. So that's a big part of where we're headed. Why? First of all, I love helping people. I've got three more books in the works right now, which will also have online courses as well.
Great.
We'll be going live with each of these. The first one possibly by the end of this week here in June, but sometime here in June, that course will be live and available for people to sign up and start engaging with me as well. And then I'll start writing the next three and getting those going. But in 10 years, I would like to have things successful enough that I'm actually producing my own feature films. And what I mean by producing is funding it out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
And for people that have paid attention to what that costs, that's an insane amount. So I've got a tall mountain, a big one to build, but I'm inspired. I love it. I would rather shoot for the moon and hit the clouds than to shoot for across the street and get there. So
Well
I want
said.
to I want to push. I don't believe in retirement. I plan to live to 150, Lord willing, and still be doing things. Now I might
Yeah.
change vocations, might switch what I'm doing, but I'm not looking to sit. I want to continue to impact people on some level. And the first couple of the steps of that is through these mentorship programs. And
Yeah.
yes, they will cost, but that's what comes through mentorship. And it will take time, and it'll take a lot of work on my part and a lot of development. But what an honor and a privilege to get to meet people and to hear their stories and to play a small part in helping them down their journeys so that they find their wins and they
Yeah.
overcome their places of whatever that they face that's darkness and struggle and difficulties and whatever. So that's a privilege, and in turn being able to take that money and tell stories on visually, in a visual medium too. So that's the basics. I've got dreams that are sitting way beyond that, but those are going to stay personal for now.
Yeah. Okay. I hope we will be able to have more conversation about that. And
Yes.
Also, I would say you amazing dreams, and I definitely would like to maybe call you again in a maybe year or 2 year time, and actually see where you are at and how everything's going, because I think your journey is very interesting, and I really
Thank you.
believe a lot of people learned something today, or
Thank you. Yeah, I
I
hope so.
believe that is bringing something to their life, and that's the reason we are doing this. And I really appreciate your time. And probably at the end, where we can find you. And I would love to share also the link and everything to your website for people. That means if you can tell us where we can find you.
That is so kind of you. Thank you so much. And so I don't forget, really appreciate your kindness and opportunity to speak, and you giving me a few minutes to share some of my thoughts. I know you have powerful wisdom of your own, and you shared some of that today. And just a privilege to share your stage with you. Um, to find and connect with me, the easiest way, I have a unique name, so I'm able to have my own stuff everywhere, but Donovan Fulkerson. .com. That'll springboard you to everywhere. I'm on all social media platforms. If you're trying to follow my businesses, those have their own social media platforms. But if you're connecting with me and my message and my things, that's where you run there. But you can go to, again, donovanfulkerson.com. That will connect you to all different directions. And if you're unsure, drop me a line. I actually communicate with people. I love to meet people. I love to be with them. Our online course, like I said, we'll be adding a section to our website so that people can connect with that. And we'll even be doing a special for this season where we'll all 2 versions of the course will be 50% off when we launch, just as a small gift to everybody.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And I wish you all good luck on your journey, and that mountain becomes smaller, I guess, I hope. And
Yes.
you will actually,
Yes.
you will walk easy way, and yeah, enjoy challenges. And I hope I will see you soon again.
Thank you so much. I would love to. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks, Donovan. Bye.
Bye.